Hey students, our last couple weeks we have been learning specifically about Jesus. We learned that Jesus is God. We learned that He's our Savior. And this week we're going to talk about Jesus as the truth. Have you ever really thought that truth is sometimes hard to find or even distinguish from something that's false? Every day we're bombarded with things from the news media, with other people telling us things that may seem just too sensational to be true, or, surprise, it's just partly true. For example, can you tell which one of these headlines is true? A Boeing CEO admits the company made a mistake by including an automatic self-destruct feature on all of its 737 MAX planes. Or that Gillette recalls razors because they're too sharp. Which one do you think it's real? In fact, it's really the second one. Last July, Gillette recalled about 87,000 Venus Simply 3 disposable razors because they were too sharp and people could cut themselves with them. So, you can see it's not always easy to tell what's true or not. Matter of fact, many people believe that it doesn't really matter if the truth exists or it doesn't exist. They say there's really no way to know if something is always true for everyone. If you look in the Gospel of John, you'll see even Pontius Pilate seemed to have engaged Jesus in this very debate just before Jesus was sentenced to death for the crimes that he didn't commit. What happened was the religious leaders of the day wanted Jesus dead. Jesus was claiming to be God, and that outraged them. But they had a problem. Legally, they couldn't put anyone to death. They needed the Roman government, or in this case, the Roman governor or prefect, Pontius Pilate, to do that. Unfortunately, he wasn't really convinced that Jesus had done anything worthy of death. And as he questions Jesus, he tries to figure out exactly what's going on, and then ultimately what he should do about it. And after a little conversation with Jesus, Pilate asks, specifically, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus says, in essence, kind of. What he really says is that he has a kingdom, but it's not an earthly kingdom. Well, as you can imagine, Pontius Pilate is confused at that point. He just really wanted to know if Jesus' goal was to overthrow the Roman government. But Jesus said his goal was something very different. It was to testify to the truth. After Pilate gets over his confusion, he responds with a question, and he asks Jesus, "What is truth?" It's a really good question. It's not always easy to know what's true, but in this case, Jesus makes it really clear. He is truth, and he came to show the world what truth is, who he is. Jesus tells Pilate, and he tells us that the truth is not just an idea. The truth is actually a person. This wasn't the first time that Jesus had claimed to be the truth. In John 14, Jesus starts to tell his friends he would be going to his Father's house to prepare a place for them. A place where God is, and they were invited to come along too. But all Jesus' friends were a little confused. They were a little stumped. They didn't understand either. They were asking, "What's the address? Where are we going? Can you give us directions?" But Jesus assures them that they actually know the way because they know him. He's the one true way to God. Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." In John 14:6. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, fine, Jesus is the truth, but what does that really mean for me, and why does this matter? There's one more moment from the book of John that I want to share before we close. When we know Jesus, we know truth, and this truth sets us free. This truth sets us free from the power of sin and death, from believing lies about God, ourselves, and others, from anger, guilt, shame, fear, brokenness, forgiveness, or anything else that keeps us captive. There is so much that the truth of Jesus sets us free from. Will you let the truth of Jesus set you free?